Hi everybody, aloha. This is Seth Lennon, once again from the beautiful Grand Wailea here in stunning Maui, Hawaii. And I have the pleasure of being joined by one of our great speakers we've had at the convention here, who's joining us and is going to give us some insight on a pretty cool topic as well as a really, really cool life story. Devon Madon, Madon Sheet Metal is joining me. How you going, Devon?
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Oh, this is exciting. Hawaii's amazing, isn't it?
I cannot believe how beautiful it is here. I'm having so much fun.
White Lotus comparisons all the time. That's what I've been telling everybody.
Yes.
So your session, I loved your session. You were talking about just the family dynamics within a business. Kind of talk about, like, give us the overview and just talk about some of the challenges, maybe some of the opportunities that exist within kind of a family structure.
My grandfather started a company back in the 50s. It was called Wallace Church, and it was a brand design company. So it was a company that would make logos and packages and, you know, the cereal boxes and all that cool stuff in like the heyday of design in the 60s and the 70s. They designed the Pillsbury Doughboy. It was this really cool company. And I remember being kind of fascinated by it when I was growing up. And then, of course, that was every single summer job I ever had. And I would be, you know, working with my dad and getting to understand what it was like to work at and run this really interesting business. And then my grandfather retired, and my father took partial ownership over this company. And then I went and worked there when I was right out of college. And I saw what happened when a family business all of a sudden goes to not family. We ended up, instead of me taking over the company, my dad sold and we were done. And the industry had changed in really dramatic ways. And his family name was on the door, and it was this big, heavy, emotional thing. It wasn't just this, you know, quick financial decision, right? That was Wallace Church. His dad, my grandfather, had started this thing. He had a daughter who was really excited to work in this industry, and he was deciding not to carry on. And I watched what that did to him, and it was really hard. And then what happened? He became wildly successful and happy. He loves being a grandfather. He works so much less, and he's done all these other really cool projects that this opened him up for. I didn't care. I was happy to not have to necessarily work at this company. It was fine. There were plenty of other places who wanted to hire me. I went on and had a really good career doing all kinds of different interesting work. And then I got as far away from family business as I possibly could. And I got a PhD in literature, which I probably wouldn't have done if I hadn't had these really cool experiences. And it was great. And I think that sometimes the narrative we have when it comes to like legacy and passing on this family tradition doesn't have to look like that. But then again, instead of just, you know, staying out of family business, my husband and I, 5 years ago, when, you know, the economy was looking really good, I'm talking like late January 2019, you know, very early 2020, we decided we were going to open our own welding shop using money that, you know, I had, you know, my father, who had owned his own company and decided not to keep doing that, decided to fund us into. And he told us, he was like, it's going to be a whole nother family. It's going to be so much work, but we really wanted to do it. And so he and I opened a shop together. And now, instead of working with my dad, I work with my husband, and it's really hard, and it's really, really amazing. I mean, it's the most exciting thing I've ever gotten to do, because I absolutely love the person who's my business partner, and we're completely on the same page, and we're on the same team, and we're striving to do this really exciting, cool thing. And it's really hard because we're never really not working, right? We're always having something that's coming up, and that's, you know, our family life and our work life are very connected. So I got obsessed with, you know, trying to figure out what to do and how to kind of figure out how I was going to navigate all of this. But I was an educator for a really long time. So between working for my dad and now working with my husband, I got a PhD in literature, and I was a teacher for 15 years. And, you know, the answer is always at the library. So I took out every book I possibly could about working for a family business and working with family. And I did a lot of research, and I got a lot of help. I really, you know, when I talked to a lot of other people who'd done this before, and I talked really openly with my parents, and I talked with family members who've run their own businesses. And then I talked a lot with people in the trades, because there's so much family business in the trades. Everybody's connected. There are all these relations that are coming everywhere. And there's so many people who are willing to help and share their stories and, like, you know, talk you through how to kind of navigate bumpy parts. So it's just been so much fun. So it was so great to get to talk about this at SMACNA because these kinds of conversations, I think, often happen in quiet little bubbles, but so much of our industry is small family businesses. So much of our businesses, so much of the American economy is small family businesses. Small family businesses employ more people than, non-small family businesses. We're the employers, right? This is who provides good quality jobs, especially the people who are here at SMACNA. These are people who are providing union, really high quality jobs. And people who are running these small family businesses often bring that value system that made them want to start a family business, that made them want to connect to that really core root value. They are bringing that to everything they do, not just their relationships with their spouses or their siblings or their kids or whoever it is that they're working with, but that extends out to literally everybody else that works for these very small companies. And I've worked at really big companies before and really felt like I was just a number. It's a very, very different experience when you're working with people who really have skin in the game and who are there invested alongside you. So it's been cool.
And
I did a lot of talking.
No,
I
you're doing
appreciate
great.
that. Thank you. I'll slow down.
You're doing great.
That's the long story.
Harry Potter fan, I assume, because I heard everything's found in the library, and I heard about the Hermione Granger in my.
Oh, I mean Hermione Granger for life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, kind of give us an example, because you talked about working with your husband in a small business format, and you've got to imagine, especially within our industry, within our association, there are so many of those arrangements. What are some of what kind of challenges do you run into sometimes with that management, and how do you guys collaborate, work on it, and move forward? Because there's a lot of different dynamics, because that's your spouse, probably your best friend, all these great things. So how do you navigate that and kind of keep professional and personal kind of that good synergy?
Oh, I think everybody's going to have their own answer to this. I mean, I think that it's just like anything that really matters. You have to figure out what works for you and your family and your relationship. But here's the thing, I don't stop being, John's wife when I just magically walk through the door, or, it doesn't stop being the person I'm building a company with when we, go home and sit at the dining room table. We're the same people all the time. And I think that the foundational aspects that make any relationship work are the stuff that make, family business relationships work, that are just founded in the most foundational stuff that I think pretty much we can all agree upon, which are just treat one another with respect, be transparent and honest, have pauses before saying words that might be hurtful, really think critically about how to share information and how to have conversations that might be hard, have empathy, right? All that stuff is we're not new and cute, right? This is, of course, we know this is the stuff that makes relationships work. But when you're married to somebody and times are hard and the shop is slow and bills are coming due and your job is a lot, right? You've got all of these job things, but then it's not like your life slows down. You still have all of the life things and, there's all of the things happening together. I think that it's really good to normalize getting some help. So I think that a big thing that I am really glad I got to do is that I'm such a happy, good person. I'm so chill. I don't need help. No. I got to a point where when things all of a sudden weren't okay and I just didn't feel like I had a handle on where it all was, I got financial help, I got spiritual help, and I got some, mental health help with my husband. And we worked through all of that stuff together because I think all of that's also connected. So, it's not like you're done once. You have to keep on re-navigating how to get back to that place where everybody can, communicate and really work together from that place of strength, from that place where everyone's being intentional and the way we're talking to each other is on purpose. Yeah, long answer.
Oh, it's great. No, that's actually a perfect answer. Our generation, I think, is very unique. A lot from our generation in this association are very unique. A lot of us, and you just touched on it, we started somewhere else and we came to the industry. I know a lot of folks that were in education that came into the field. We spoke to someone earlier that was that had a career in Goldman Sachs before returning.
Yeah.
How did you enter the space? What attracted you to the space? and give us some idea of just how some of the other skills that you've developed like have really manifested themselves within the industry.
So I love this question, and I love that we're talking about this more in this industry, because I think that there are these narratives that there are very specific directions that people take that bring them to very specific careers. I was a teacher for a really long time, and I saw that happen. I saw a lot of kids getting pushed into very specific directions, or just being told you have to go to college. It's interesting because I was a college professor for a while. I really bought in, right? I have a PhD in literature. I really loved it. And then I met my husband, who, first of all, was making a lot more money than me when we were dating, which I appreciated, and was a union sheet metal worker. And I just started like understanding more about the work that he was doing. Now, it's funny, he was an apprentice while I was in grad school, and we said that like I got my PhD in literature while he got his PhD in, sheet metal.
Yeah.
And he's a sheet metal worker. And he, then became a journeyman and really started understanding and learning the trade. And he was excited about it. I'd come home and I'd be talking about these cool classes that I was taking and the papers I was writing and the ideas that I was kind of chewing on. And he'd be coming home and telling me about the cool things he made and what he learned. And it was exciting and it was interesting. And I think that he was interested in my stuff. He read my stupid dissertation, He was probably one of 6 people in the world who did, and went to my dissertation defense. And I got like excited and interested when he was starting to build and take on bigger projects and manage more interesting stuff. He went from the shop into the office. He learned a lot about that whole transition. He started kind of seeing a path forward. But also, this was in his family. He's a 3rd-generation sheet metal worker. So his grandfather came back from World War II. He was from Knoxville, Tennessee. He had nothing. He had nothing to go back to. He had no money. There was no jobs there. Went up to Chicago. He got a union job as a sheet metal worker. And my husband is still in that same union. Both his dad and his uncle are sheet metal workers. The reason we were able to start this company is because his dad really helped us out and really kind of like brought us through how to negotiate things and understand the relationship between the shop and the office and the field and all of that. And you can't just get that. It's generational knowledge. And I think that I was able to see the value in that, but I think that I was also kind of brought into it by John's enthusiasm. And I think that sharing things you're actually really excited about, it's so cool. And I want more of our American education system to look for that, right?
Yes.
Like seeing real value and like really emphasizing the skills and how much value there is in people who think and who are really mechanically inclined. And there are a lot of us, right, who are able to just see things. The way he can visualize something in his head is in 3 dimensions, and he can see what this thing is supposed to be. He can also understand the air pressure that has to flow through it and how to design this thing and then how to weld it and put it all together. It's really cool. And I cannot see in that way, but I can also communicate through language and, have certain skill sets that I bring to the table, especially as a business owner, that can be really valuable, that are maybe not areas in which he's had as much time to practice or really the way that his mind works. And so I think it's really cool because I think there's so much room for such an enormous diversity of skill sets in this industry. And I think that's one of the coolest things that I've really gotten to know since I've gotten more involved in, just networking with other people who are in this industry, understanding just the construction industry more deeply, but specifically the world of fabrication and manufacturing. It takes so many different kinds of brains, and you have to be good at so many different things, and you can never be done learning, right? It's not like you are ever finished, right? Just today, I went to a session that was all about the way that welding is going to be transformed by laser welding, by the future of robotics. We've got to stay on it, no matter what your skill set is, especially right now. I think having that learner's mindset, just being excited and wanting to explain to people around you why the thing you're doing is so cool and interesting, and also, being willing to continue to learn, right? Having that sense of wanting the next step. Yeah.
We never stop learning.
Never.
We never stop learning. I mean, one of these days I think I'll get my master's. One of these days I love learning. Like I'm that guy that my way I cure boredom is find a random Wikipedia article just to soak in knowledge.
It's the best, right? That's why this moment we're in is so weird, right? With AI and the way the internet is changing and all these things. But it's also so exciting. There's so much promise in it too.
Well, think about where we were going back to when you guys started your business 5 years ago, what the world looks like. I don't think we could imagine that.
No, and we couldn't have made financial projections that would have predicted the ways in which we've struggled or the ways in which we've been successful. It's just so, you can see these patterns coming, but getting down to like the real emotions of the day to day, the really important big stuff happens when we have no control.
So basically, teamwork makes the dream work. That's the theme.
Yes.
Well, Devon, it's been amazing getting to know you.
Oh,
It's amazing sharing your story. Thank you. You've brought so much energy to our association and just a great perspective. Thank you so much.
I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.